All right, here we go. So yesterday's lesson, we were going back to standard form, but just because we have standard form and not vertex form doesn't mean that we can't do specific things with it. There are still things that we can find, okay? So, for example, number 1 and number 2, even though this is now back to vertex form, I can still find the axis of symmetry in the vertex. In fact, I did that in like 8.3. Like that was the exact lesson I did in 8.3. So let's just practice that one more time. So if I want to find the axis symmetry, remember how we said there is a specific formula? The formula for the axis of symmetry you don't need to memorize, but it's on the bottom of your star chart. Axis of symmetry is negative b over 2a. Okay, so x equals negative b over 2a. So those are the numbers I'm plugging in. And remember, I have standard form is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So negative b. B is the number that's connected to the x, just the single x. So what number here is b? There is none. So what number is it? 0. You see how there's only an a and a c? There's no b here because there's no single x here. So negative 0, which is just 0, right? There's no such thing as negative 0, over 2 times, what number here is a? 1. Don't say x, right? X is not a number. 1x squared, so a is 1. Okay, so negative 0 over 2 times 1. I guess I can put it in my calculator, though really you could just do it in your head because 0 divided by anything is just 0. Okay, so my AOS is x equals 0. So now remember how in 8.3 we said, now that you know the AOS, which is an x, to find your vertex, which is a point, something comma something, take your x and plug it into your equation. So for my vertex, I'm going to take my original problem, and I'm just going to plug in 0 for x. So I have 0 squared minus 16. Type it in your calculator as one long problem, or just realize what's 0 squared minus 16?
0.
Nope. Negative 16, because you still have that minus 16 at the end. Okay, so if a vertex is a point, and your point is always x comma y, what was the x? You said the x was 0. The y you just solved for was negative 16. Boom. That would be my answer. So that's how I find vertex and axis symmetry. That is nothing new. That is not new to 8.5. Okay, that was actually 8.3. We've practiced how to find vertex and axis symmetry. So let's try it one more time with number 2 and then move on to something actually that's 8.5. Okay, you're going to have to do this on your level work though. Okay, that's why we're going over it right now. So for this one, let's find the AOS. So online kids, you are up. AOS is negative b over 2a. So somebody online, can you tell us what is negative b? What is that going to be, online kids? 18. Notice how it says negative 18, but the person online said 18, right? Because technically negative b is negative 18. Technically negative 18 is just positive 18, right? That's why they just said 18. Over 2 times, somebody different online, what is a? What did you say, Madison? Yeah. Okay. So you don't have to do this in your head. That's what you have calculators for. Hey, heads up, next year in high school, so just in high school, did you know that there will be some times where you will have non-calculator tests? Okay. So take this year as a gift and you don't have any of those things. Like in 8th grade, we're just going to say calculator all year. But next year and in 10th grade and 11th and 12th grade, no, 12th, 11th and 12th grade, you're probably going to have a calculator just because the math is too hard. But in 9th and 10th grade, you will probably have some non-calculator tests, okay? So 3. If you're in 7th grade, geometry, or if you're in 7th grade, next year you're going to go to geometry. I'm pretty sure Ms. Peterson lets you use a calculator all year. So you have 1 extra year of calculator. All right, so AOS is x equals 3. For my vertex, plug it in to your equation. Always make sure that you put parentheses around your x every time you replace it with a number. The reason why is because 50% of the time it's going to give you the wrong answer, especially if your x is negative. If your x is positive, you probably will be fine. But just get in the habit of always putting it in the parentheses. Okay, if you do so, and if you type this in as one long sentence, did anyone get that? It's a negative something. -3. So your vertex is an x comma y. What did you get as x? Right here. Oh, x is 3. What did you get as y? Right there, -3. So that's my vertex, 3 comma -3. Please remember, you can double check your answers. Like, how can you double check your answer? By putting your original problem into your calculator and seeing, oh shoot, this is super zoomed in. So hold on. I was -10, 10, 1, -10, 10, 1. That's always the default. Okay, look, do you see how it looks like my vertex is at 3 comma -3? You can really double check by doing the, second calc minimum, left bound, right bound thing that I taught you last week. Look, 3.0000, so that's 3 comma -3. Boom, I got it right. All right, backside. Finding the zeros. Guys, the zeros is the same thing as the x-intercepts. It's the same thing as the roots, okay? So when you find the zeros, they can say find the zeros, find the x-intercepts, find the roots. It's all the same thing. All right, we talked about yesterday, which is a review from chapter 7, last chapter. How do I find the zeros of this? Because there's x to the third. I can't solve for x. Hudson, what do I do? Okay, so solve it, like set it equal to 0. Yes, that's the first step. Finding the 0 means taking y and setting it equal to 0. But what's the next thing I have to do? Because I can't solve for x. Like there's x to the third and then there's a single x. Jaden, is your hand raised? Yeah. What's up? Big X. Close. So close. You don't do big X though because there's not 3 terms. Like magic numbers is big X, but like the step before big X. You can't do like terms because there are no like terms. So remember how yes, Lance? Yeah. What? I can't set it equal to 0 because there's no parentheses. So remember how when I told you to factor, like we said, step 1, whenever you factor, you always have to take out a no. Well, yeah, it's negative, but there's no negative to take out. GCF, right? Always take out a GCF. If you can take out a GCF, always take out a GCF. So I can take out an x, right? Aren't there x's to take out on both of them? So left over, I have x squared minus 144. Now you think, okay, now I have 2 terms. So with the 2 terms, the only way I can factor 2 terms is not big X, but it's the tree thing. Does the tree thing work for this? Yeah. Yes, because there's a negative in between. X squared is x and x. 144 is 12 and 12. So isn't this going to be 0 equals x, which is still on the outside because I factored it out. Yeah, and then x plus 12 and x minus 12. Does that kind of ring a bell from last chapter, how I factored, hopefully? Hudson?
Yeah, can you, instead of doing the tree thing, can you just solve for x and the x equals 12?
Yeah, but you would also forget the -12. Like you have to remember the plus and minus then, and I feel like most kids, even myself, I forget whenever I square root, you get a plus or minus. Yes, Lance?
Does it have to be negative inside the parentheses to do the tree thing?
Yeah, it has to say minus. If it says x squared plus 144, you cannot do the tree thing. All right, now I can find my zeros. Remember how I found my zeros? Now I can put everything and set it equal to 0. So what I mean by that is like going x minus 12 equals 0, right? Adding 12 to both sides. So I get x equals positive 12. That's a lot of work. Like I don't have to do it because I can kind of do it in my head. Right, this one, what does x equal? -12. And this one, what does x equal? Not 12, just 0, right? Because it just says x equals 0. So those are my zeros, those are my x-intercepts, those are my roots. That's what I do. How I can double check my answer, because what are my zeros? Like, what does that even mean, zeros? These are my zeros. For this picture, my zero is here and here, right? It's these two right here, wherever it touches the x-axis. So if I really wanted to, I could double check my question or my answer by typing in my equation, my question in here, and going to the graph. And I don't see anything, so it's probably too zoomed in. So hit zoom out. And now it's too zoomed out because I don't even know where it is. So maybe like if I got -12, +12, and 0, why don't I change my window to like -15, +15, like that. So if this is -15, then yeah, that's definitely -12. This is +12. I don't see the 0 one because it probably is like such a straight line, just like how these are. So when I graph this, let me try to zoom super out so you can see. I want you to be able to see the whole thing because right now it just looks like 3 vertical lines. Yeah, it's way too small. Okay, so guys, whenever it looks like vertical lines, it basically just looks, it's that. That's my picture. It's just hard to see it in such a tiny little window. Okay, all right. So for this one, number 4, when it says find the zeros or find the roots or find the x-intercepts, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can factor. Can I factor that any farther? No. Can I factor this though?
Yeah.
Yes, right? Because there's 2 terms, there's a minus, and I can separate that. So this is an XX 7, 7. Right? So don't I have 0 equals x plus 14, x plus 7, x minus 7. So I have 3 answers. Somebody online, do you think you know what are the 3 answers if I set all of these equal to 0?
X equals -14, x equals -7, and x equals 7.
Yeah, and there it is. And if I graphed it, it would look again like that at -14, -7, and +7. That's what it would look like. So basically the point is factor it as far as it will go and then set each part equal to 0 like we did last chapter. All right, last one before we start the level work together. Oh, now I have 4 terms. Eek, I kind of forgot. How do I factor with 4 terms? Because it's not big X.
Oh, you do the thing.
What thing?
The thing.
The thing.
Yeah, of course,
You
do the thing.
thing.
What thing?
The thing.
Grouping.
Grouping. Thank you for using your words and not saying the thing, the
No,
thing.
you gotta do the thing.
Gosh, sounds like I'm talking to my own kid. I want it. What do you want? I want it. What do you want? I want it. Oh my gosh, I'm about to.
She
Don't
wants
knock
it
myself.
the movie.
What?
She wants it the movie.
Oh, dear Lord. Please no. All right. So
Why did you not realize that earlier?
Yeah, how do you not realize
I know, because sometimes she is kind of psychotic. All right. So remember how we do this? We group it. So the first 2, the last 2. So for the first 2, I'm going to take out a GCF. What can I take out for the first group?
X squared.
X squared. So left over, I have X. I have a minus. Oh, the X squared disappeared. So what do I write?
-0.
No, not 1. Good. I don't just leave it blank. Don't write 0. It's 1 because technically x squared divided by x squared is 1, right? Just like 5 divided by 5. The same thing divided by 5. Same thing. It's just 1. Okay. Second group. What can I take out here?
16.
Good. But remember, it's not just 16. Negative. Because remember, when it starts with a negative, you have to take out the negative as well. So then this plus turns into a minus because I took out a negative. Oh, look, I know I did it right because you have the same thing. So now I have x squared minus 16. Oh my gosh, boys, seriously. And then x minus 1. Being annoying, that's what they're doing. All right. And then remember, is this as far as it goes or can I factor it even more? The first one, right? Because I can break down 16 to 4 and 4 and x and x. So really I have x plus 4, x minus 4, x minus 1.
I keep forgetting, why does the x, why, if there's 2 x minus 1s, why is there only 1 in the round product?
Because you group it together. to be like, because you separated it to see what it would be, and then you grouped it back together when you write your answer. So that when you FOIL it back together, it would look like that. Okay,
I don't understand.
so I have 3 answers. Somebody in person, go, go, go. What do I have? Sophia, and that's it. Okay, take out your level work.
No. Like, why? How long is the video?
Okay,
Unless you're skipping, then it's back.
so the level work looks really similar to your video notes, but I feel like some of us maybe need a little bit extra support in that. So I'm going to start some of this with you, okay? So let's do number 1 together. Find the x-intercepts. X-intercepts are your zeros. Basically, find your zeros and the axis of symmetry. So let's do that. So let's do number 1. Let's find the zeros. It's already factored. So all I have to do is set them equal to 0, okay? So if I set them equal to 0, this one is easy. What does x equal here? -5. This one, I feel like you're going to overcomplicate it. It's not 1/3. What does x equal?
X equals 0.
X just equals 0. So again, the reason why x equals 0 here is because remember, if I had, I'm just going to write it up here, -1/3 x, setting it equal to 0, wouldn't I just divide both sides by -1/3? And that's why 0 divided by -1/3 is 0. That's why x is 0, right? Okay, so here are my x-intercepts, which are the same thing as my zeros. Now it says find the AOS. Let me tell you like why I'm doing what I'm doing. So we said that your x-intercepts are at 0 and -5, right? So if I were to graph this, it's going to look like this. Isn't your AOS the halfway point between these two? So what does it mean to be halfway? You add the 2 and then you divide it in half, so divide it by 2. That's why I did that on the video notes, okay? So if you already have your zeros, you can easily find your AOS by just saying, okay, 0 plus -5 divided by 2. So 0 plus -5 is -5, divided by 2 is -2.5. So my AOS is x equals -2.5. And that's my AOS. And that makes sense. Halfway between 0 and -5 is -2.5. So that's what you're going to be doing for number 2. So like for number 2, like set it equal to 0, set it equal to 0. Ooh, does this 9 equal 0? Like, do I have 3 answers for x or just 2 answers? Just 2. Because remember 9, like I don't set 9 equal to 0. That doesn't make sense. 9 doesn't equal 0. Okay. Number 3, 4, 5, and 6. I have to graph it, label it, axis symmetry, x-intercepts, domain, range. Woo! All right, here we go. Let's do number 4. So let's graph it. The easiest way to graph it is by finding the zeros first. So let's find the zeros. Somebody online, what are my zeros? X equals what? X equals what?
X equals 4 and x equals -2.
Okay. Should I set this -3 equal to 0 and write x equals -3 or x equals 0 or something? What do we think? No, because there's no x here. So there's no solving for x. Okay. So my x-intercepts for this problem would be 4, 0 and -2, 0. Those are my x-intercepts. So let's plot those. 4, 0, -2, 0. Okay, well, now I need a vertex. Remember how we did that on the starter? Oh, to find the vertex, I need an AOS. So actually I need an AOS first. Okay, the AOS is always a halfway point. This kind of looks like it's halfway, but I don't know for sure. I can do math, right? I can add the 2 together and divide by 2 to find the halfway point, just like what we did for number 1. So yeah, 4 plus -2, and then divide it in half. So 4 plus -2 is 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1. So x equals 1. Oh, look, it is x equals 1. That's my AOS. So then for my vertex, I can just plug x, the 1, into my original problem. So y equals -3, parentheses, x, oh, no, that's 1 minus 4, parentheses, x, oh, that's 1 plus 2. Andrew. So in my calculator, when I type this out, I would literally just type it in as a sentence. -3, 1 minus 4, 1 plus 2, like that. So y equals 27. Ooh, that's a big one. All right. So if that equals 27, then I have 1 comma 27. Okay. I don't think I can count by ones. I can probably count by 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27. Okay, so that's right here. And whee, that's my answer. Or that's my picture. So what did the directions say? Graph it, I did it. Vertex, I did it. AOS, I did it. X-intercepts, I did it. Okay, domain and range, and then I'm done. What's the domain of this picture? ARN, darn. Okay, range. Instead of doing the Y thing with the alligators, okay, just think of it this way. Range is always Y. Is it greater than or less than in this picture? Because you see how it's going down? So it is less than. Everything is less than or equal to. How high did it go though? 27. So you can kind of like just think about it and figure out what your range is instead of doing like the Y and then the things and the infinity and the negative infinity. Or you can do it that way too, whatever way works. Okay.
Would you be wrong if you put y less than 38?
Yes, because that means that Y could be 27.1 and it's not, right? That's why.
That's it.
Okay. Number 6. Now let's graph this one. So the easiest way to graph it is by finding the zeros. I can't find the zeros yet because what do I need to do first? What? I need to factor it. Get your mind out of the gutter. All right. So I need to factor this. Oh, there's 3 terms. I can do big X. Nope, I can't do big X because it doesn't start with a 1. GCF. Yes, I can take out a GCF. So I can take out a 2. I would have x squared plus 10x plus 21. Now I can do big X. 21's on top, 10's on the bottom. Okay. What 2 numbers multiply to 21, add up to 10? 7 and 3. Good mental math. Okay.
Monk and P.
So I have 2 parentheses, x plus 7, x plus 3. Okay, now that I factored it, and that equals y, I can go ahead and solve for my zeros or solve for my x-intercepts. Okay.
Wait,
Yes, Hudson.
I didn't really mention this before, but wouldn't there be parentheses around the group of parentheses, so it'd be 2 parentheses, X or so? It wouldn't be like the English please?
No.
And then another one
Because this means times, this means times.
Please stop speaking Hudson.
But the 2 applies to, oh, because when you multiply the 2, it applies to both afterwards. I see.
Okay. So let's find my zeros now. So
We went Hudson.
what does this equal? X equals what? X equals what? -7, -3. Does x equal 2 here or does x equal 0? No, because there's no x on the outside to set equal to 0. Okay, so my x-intercepts were -7, 0, -3, 0. Those are my 2 x-intercepts. Let's go plot that. So I have -7, 0 and -3, 0. Okay. The next thing to solve for was my AOS, the halfway point. I mean, I can kind of look at it and tell you what's the halfway point between -7 and -3,
Monkey.
right? But remember that the math way to do it is adding them, -7 plus -3 and divide by 2. That's always how you find half of it. But yeah, so it is -5. It's the average, you're right. Okay, so x equals -5 would be my AOS. My vertex, there's no way I can look at it and see it. So vertex, remember, you plug it back into your original problem. So y equals 2 parentheses, because if you don't do parentheses this time, it's going to give you the wrong answer. You should get, did I throw away the answers? I don't even know where the answers are.
I
You
stopped
should,
looking in my home for that.
negative number, I think.
Is it a negative number?
I'm pretty sure it's a negative number.
Maybe it's because the negative 5.
Maybe it's a positive negative.
So it's that's 192. It's 192.
It's not 192.
-8.
Yes, negative 8. So I have negative 5 comma negative 8, which is right here. So whee, that's my answer. That's my picture. Okay. Now let's find domain and range. Okay, domain, what is it? Darn, all real numbers.
Oh,
Range, okay, so range is y. Look at the way it's pointing. So it's pointing up. Is that greater than or less than? So it's greater than or equal to. How much greater than? Like how is as low as it went? Negative 8. So that's how I can kind of just do it in my head. Okay, backside. Find the zeros. So when you're finding the zeros, this is exactly like your starter. Either it's factored for you or either it's not factored for you. So this one you have to factor. This one you also have to factor first, okay? And then 11, 12, 13, 14, using your zeros, basically factor it. So basically it's like these four, right? Factor it if it needs to be factored. And then you can graph your zeros and then do all that stuff. And then find the vertex in the AOS. Okay, any final math questions? Online kids don't leave yet.